Are you ready to breed some more fish? How about a dagger bear? Yeah, we're going to talk about the swordtail and the secrets to breeding swordtails. Stay tuned. So, these are the common pet store swordtails. I don't keep them separated into different varieties. I've got brick reds, I've got some wagtails, I've got different varieties all in the same tank. And that's because these pet store swordtails are hybrids. They're a hybrid of your Helleri swordtails from the wild and your maculatus platies from the wild. So these are actually hybrids of platies and swordtails, which are both part of the same genus. But we won't get into all the science and stuff on that because it doesn't really matter for this video. So what's the secret to breeding swordtails? Well, they're like a lot of your other live bears. That it's real simple that you gotta have a male and a female. And the way you tell, let's see if I can get zoomed in here to find a boy and a girl. So, real simply, it's easy to tell on the swordtails because the males, there goes one there, will have the tail extension at the bottom, the sword. And that's where they get the name swordtail. But, down here's another boy. Get a good example. The girls won't have that sword. But that's not necessarily the full way, because look at this one here. What would you think? If you look closely, you can see he's beginning to grow his sword. But if you look at the fin right before the tail, on his underneath, see how it's tube shaped? That's the giveaway that he's a boy. That's called a gonopodium. In swordtails, that is the fin or organ or whatever you want to call it that he actually uses for reproduction. And you may say, but his sword, which you can see the little tip of at the bottom of his tail there starting to grow, is really small. And this little guy down here, he has a huge sword. That's the one I want to breed. No, that's not what you want. The guy down there with the little body and big long sword, that is the result of the pet industry. He's in the back where we can't see him. The small swordtails with the long swords are the result of the pet industry trying to produce fish with the swordtails faster, so they can get them to the pet stores and they will sell faster. But that doesn't mean that they're the best ones, that they are the healthiest ones. This guy right here will carry genetics that tell his offspring to grow faster and stay smaller. Whereas this late bloomer here, he's big and just now getting his sword. So he carries genetics that says grow bigger. You know, it takes a little while longer, but you're going to be a bigger fish. So you want the late bloomers to be the ones that you breed. But be careful, because as the fish get old, saying like old age, which isn't the case for this guy here, but if it was an old fish, females can start to show male characteristics. And think of it, you know, like with other animals. Say with humans. As the hormones drop off in older age, the estrogen isn't there to produce the female characteristics, and some of the testosterone goes through and kind of allows more male characteristics to show up. So like in some females, for like humans, you may see as women get older in their old age, maybe they start to show some facial hair starting to develop, a little hair here and there on their chin or something. Well, that's kind of the same thing with these, that as they age out, if you get a really old female, she might start to grow a sword, and her anal fin may become more pointed, but that doesn't mean that she can reproduce as a male. It doesn't work that way for them. But a young female, let's see if I can get a good picture and get zoomed in on that one there. No. This one here moving by pretty fast. They won't have a sword, and that anal fin, the anal fin, like you can see here, is just a regular fin, triangle shaped. But you might have to watch them for a second, because they can fold it up into kind of a tube shaped to almost trick you. But then they can open it back up, where the males can never open that shape up again. You know, it's a tube shape because that's what delivers the sperm to the female. And the males will inseminate the females, and in about a month, about 28 days or so, she will drop her fry. She'll give birth. Now, all the details of how all the gestation works and all that kind of stuff, we won't go into in this video. If you want to see a video about how all of that works, how the fry grows inside of the female and stuff, let me know and we can do that later. But one of the secrets to it, you want to have a lid on your tank, because swordtails are notorious for jumping. If they get something that's not what they like, as far as like water quality or something, they'll jump. And then some plants or cover of some sort for the babies to hide in. Swordtails will eat their babies sometimes, but not, you know, not as bad as some other species. But if you give some plants and places for them to hide, they'll be fine. There's no need to take the female out or anything like that, as long as you got places that the babies can hide inside, little caves or rock piles, or plants really is the best thing. This specific tank, I've got artificial plants in, so they work fine with artificial plants. They work fine with live plants. Either one, whichever is your preference. I use a little of both. The barb there is not the best idea for getting the most fry, because other species, barbs, tetras, cichlids, they will predate on swordtail fry. So for the best conditions, for the best fry count, it's best to have just swordtails, or you could have other smaller things that couldn't mess with the babies, or like stuff that don't actively predate on swimming fish that can get away from them, such as cories or plecos and stuff like that. But the main trick for the best swordtails, the big secret, you want your late developing male just like this guy up here, and some females. You want 2 to 3 females per male. So this tank here, you can see I've got too many males in it. I need to thin those out. But 2 to 3 females per male, or even more females if you choose, and some cover in the form of probably the best is plant cover for the babies to hide in. You give them some good food, give them your water changes, and you'll have baby swordtails. They take a little while to grow, but they're not as slow as like rainbow fish or tetras or stuff like that. And it'll be really rewarding to see a whole family of swordtails growing up in your tank. So let me know what you think about this this whole series of secrets to breeding. What species would you like me to look at next? And let me know if you have tips on breeding swordtails. And we'll talk to you next time.